Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Drewski of Cryptid Warfare and Conspiracies podcast, and thanks for tuning in. Guys, it's been a minute. It's been a while. It's been good, though. So, I got an awesome guest on here today. Before I introduce her, though, I actually got a couple shout outs. If you, I like local businesses. So, yeah. So if you guys support local business, if you guys are here in the Tennessee area, I'm going to give a couple shout outs to my friends' businesses. All right, here we go. The shout out businesses. All right, if you guys need any window cleaning, construction cleanup, anything like that, look up Berry Hill Window Cleaning. Okay, that's it. You can go on Facebook, you can go on the internet, you can type them in. So Berry Hill Window Cleaning. They're over here in Tennessee, and you got another satellite company in Arkansas. So you guys need any good construction cleanup or window cleaning, hit them up. Berry Hill Window Cleaning. All right, and the second one is Tier 1. That's one of my cryptid operators businesses, Brian. He is on Facebook, so he's a power washing company. So if you guys need any power washing when it comes to anything at all, your house, your businesses, your sidewalks, driveways, whatever, your dog, I don't care. Just hit him up on Facebook. Tier 1 Restorations Power Washing Company on Facebook. Don't forget that. All right, and my buddy Daniel, what up, D? He's got a business that's called Bearded Brothers Trucking. So they're located on Facebook. You go look at them up. Also, he has a website. It's vegabrostn.com. That's vegabrostn.com. You guys need anything when it comes to trucking, hauling gravel, anything like that. Concrete work, hit him up. He's a good dude. So, and then you guys need any, I should say, cryptid eradication or cryptid hunting or anything like that, you guys got any spooky things that are going around your house you guys need prayer over, or you got any physical things that are being a threat to your guys' home, you guys can hit up CW Operations and Survival. You can find them on my page. It's Cryptid Warfare. So if you can, you guys can write them an email. They have two emails. It's c.wopps@protonmail.com, and they have another email. It's c.woperations17905@gmail.com, and I will have all those links in the show notes. So, all right, that's enough of that. Enough of that stuff. All right, guys, we have an awesome guest on. Shout out to Kevin from the Weird Ones. He hooked me up with this awesome person. She's very lovely. She's awesome. May I introduce? Before that, hold on. I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of a bio on her. Okay. All right, Miss Alex Sheila, correct? Alex
Shae.
Sheila.
Shae.
Oh, God, L in that. Alex Shae. Gosh, man, I wish I had my side guy. He's like, dude, hooked on phonics never worked for you. No, it has not. All right. All right, Alex Shae. All right, here we go. Her bio is, okay, she is a solo field researcher, a freelance photographer. Her photography is very awesome, by the way. You guys should go check her out on Instagram. I'll have those up in the show notes. All right, she's a historian. She's also an abandoned historical building explorer. We're definitely going to dive into that. She's been an experiencer with the paranormal her entire life, as well as her family members. Most recently, she's done a lot of research into her town and to the one she grew up in, where she's at now. And she's had Sasquatch experiences, UFO experiences. She's captured unidentified crying creatures. Woo, woo. Dude, I'm telling you, I heard that stuff when I was cryptid hunting out in the mountains. It's a trip. So, all right. May I introduce Miss Alex? Thank you for being on the show. Woo!
Thank you, Drew. That was quite an intro. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're done later. No, I'm just joking. All right. Yeah, man. Let's just get into this, man. I'm gonna just break this down. So, what got you into solo field researching and all that stuff? How did you get onto that? Like, where did this all start?
Just being out in nature with my kids, honestly. And we weren't even asking for it. It just almost like it just happened. And once it started happening and we realized kind of what was going on in our area, then me and my oldest son, he's 13, and he goes out there on walks with me, and he loves it like a lot. He actually wants to be a park ranger when he grows up, which I think is pretty cool because
that's a boy.
Yeah, like he loves being out there. He knows that his generation is just kind of being brainwashed with technology. And so anytime 100%. We have a chance to get out in nature, if we're having a bad day, if we're having a good day, we honestly can't wait for fall time to come up, because we're going to be able to like get out there more, and there's not going to be all the ticks and the bugs and all that. So it's going to be nice. But yeah, just I've always loved the weird stuff. I've always really loved ghosts and any type of cryptid, but it's a whole different game when you're actually seeing stuff firsthand. Like we found a footprint that was probably the most intriguing thing that we have like found as like together. We've also heard what I called monkey sounds in the park that we go in, which also had creaking door noises that went along with it, which was kind of crazy.
So this is a lot in the forest, correct? Yeah.
Correct. Yes, this is at it's a Missouri Conservation is what it is.
Gotcha.
And
okay.
It was originally owned by a man named Morgan Walker around the Civil War era, and he purchased it from a man named can't remember his first name, but his last name was Lewis, the Lewis family. And the Lewis family and the Morgan Walker family were very prominent families out there. They owned a lot of land. Lewis sold Morgan Walker 2,000 acres, and that's now where Burr Oak Woods Nature Park resides. There's also some other recreational parks, like soccer fields and whatnot, that's by the family cemetery. But there's a lot of Civil War history that's out there that's been, which I thought was kind of crazy. I'm on this cryptid hunt, but at the same time, it's led me on to a history hunt of the land and the property and just things that have gone down out there. There's rumored to be gold. There's allegedly caves that probably are nearby, but are very hard to find. There's like limestone outcroppings that we have that Native Americans would do. I think they called it like flinting, I think is what it was called, but they would, dig and stuff. And our area where we're at, there's like the Osage, Fort Osage area that we have. And the Native Americans used to travel through there to Little Blue Parkway, which is another big river. And so our creek system kind of goes along with that. So there's just so much going on out there. And then on top of all that, we also have an underground, it's 180 acres of an underground limestone quarry that was abandoned and then purchased by a private owner. And this man runs a science and technology lab that is gated off. And no one's been on there. Yeah.
What? So hold on, back up.
You have to hear this. Okay. You have to hear this though. The man who owns it, his main goal in the 80s and 90s was to turn Kansas City into the hydrogen city. His thing was to make hydrogen cars. I'm not going to say his name, but allegedly he's not a great person. This man actually has a online schooling system that has been very controversial with parents. They've complained a lot about the content that it is showing their children, and it's been distributed throughout all the United States. And this man has a lot of power, but he owns this quarry, and alleged students live down there and they stay down there. There's a whole website, a cult awareness page. Family members have talked about this place. No one's really been down there. Like someone has actually done I think it was in the 90s, maybe late 80s, but there was a survey done that I found where someone went to all the underground resources in our area. I think maybe in the state of Missouri, but it'll show you, and it tells you when they go into each facility, the condition of the facility, all those things. He's the only privately owned, which I get it. It's privately owned. So he lives there, but he's the only underground facility that is active that that has denied access for anyone to go in there. And on this website, there's a Reddit feed for it that I can send you. That's really interesting. It goes forever.
Yeah, seriously.
Talk all about it because there's people like the title of it is there any ex-members of the alleged Blue Springs cult in the limestone quarries?
Well, I'm right. They talk all about. I'm taking notes right now. So what was it called again? The what? Blue Springs. The Blue Springs cult?
So whenever you look it up, you just look up on Reddit Blue Springs cult, and that Reddit feed basically will pop up. But what I found was very interesting is like we have a lot of like mines and caves and stuff like that in just Kansas City area in general and North Kansas City. And I know for a fact that this is 180 acres because it's, been published that it has. People have wrote articles about this place, but it's directly connected to Bur Oak Woods. So it goes underneath a highway that connects to it. So I'm not 100% sure if there is access tunnels. Like someone told me, well, I can see the entryway to get in because I've seen it over like a Google satellite image. So I can see how they can get in. But someone said there's also possibly other exit points from, like they said, there's probably not just one exit from that place. There would probably have to be
there's
multiple
exits. Yeah, there has to have multiple exits.
So
especially with something
how
big like
far
that.
it goes in which direction, up, down, which way, I don't honestly know. But I do know that someone said that it does go under the highway. And then a lady on the community awareness page, because I was like, man, this is really interesting. A lady on the community awareness page posted about it, posted like the picture of their gate and was like, what is this place? Tell me about this. I need to know in my community. And so like all these people are commenting on it. And this lady was like, this or that. And then some guy goes, hey, I wonder if that's all that machinery noise I kept hearing in the ground in my neighborhood. And I was like, wait, what? Because he lived close by to it. So he's like, I don't know if they're like digging more or not, but I was like, you've got to be kidding me right now. Like, that's crazy. Yeah. So that's been a whole like mystery for like a couple decades. And he has his own church. He has his own everything. Like it's all his own school, his own church. It's basically like his own world. And he lives in, like I said, in this limestone quarry. I know of a personal friend whose nephew like jumped the fence because they were curious about it and all the alarms went off. They're teenagers. They were not, they were out being teenagers. But another group of kids on that Reddit page said that they actually made it inside the cave and they saw all these like science posters hung up in the hallways and there was kids sleeping in bunk beds. So that is, something that people have talked about. It's crazy. Yeah. I guess the cops went to those kids' house like the next day and was like talking to them about, trespassing and not to do that. I think this guy has a lot of people that he knows. Like it's not just some random guy. Like he's been around. And
this guy's got a lot of people on his thumb.
If he's been doing hydrogen stuff, like what if, because hydrogen cars didn't take off, what if he decided to do a different direction of things? Or it's almost like, it's weird because I called their little school thing because they don't have any in school. There's no campus that you can go to. They have campuses, but you don't go into the school. There's no like on campus site. Everything's online. And I'm like, well, my son wants to know about the scientists in the lab you got in there in Blue Springs. And the guy's like, oh, haha, so funny. He's like, well, I mean, maybe we could arrange that, but that's not something that you can just go and do. And I was like, oh, okay. So there are people down there like doing things. And he was like, yeah, well, we see what fits best for everybody with, science and technology and what you want to accomplish. And it was almost like they're like recruiting, like I said this in a different podcast, like recruiting like Bob Lazar's, like, let's see, the smartest kids that we can get. And then they almost take them and like have them live with them. From what I could tell, it seems like they kind of alienate people who maybe don't have people in their lives and
it's probably the best subjects.
It's crazy, but yeah, that's a lot of it. So I'm telling you, like my friend had told me about that place and that was before I had my experiences. And then I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Like, I think this is all kind of like one thing. And it was just weird. And I've got up many weird theories, but I'm just
hold on. Have you, okay. You said he was working on hydro collider stuff, right? You ever heard of oh my gosh. Yes. Like hydrogen stuff. You ever heard of the hydrogen collider?
Yes. That's what me and a few other podcasts.
Ozark Labs, CERN, all that.
So they're like thinking that like, if maybe because he wanted to make Kansas City the hydrogen city. That was like his main goal, like a long time ago. And it didn't, for whatever reason, it didn't take off. I don't know what happened with that, but someone was like, okay, he obviously had the intelligence and all that and the people to be doing those things. Because I guess he has one of those cars in that quarry that he lives in. Because someone said there's a waterfall down there. There's one of his cars. They've only been in like a main part of it, but anyways, it's huge. And so they're thinking, well, okay, if maybe that didn't take off. Maybe he went in a different direction with it. And he has a science and technology lab, and that's what he advertises that place to be. But it's also a place where people live. Like I said, I don't know if that's where his church is, nobody ever comes in and out of this place. Really, it's hard to explain.
Like,
gated
if
off.
you're
It's a
there,
gated off community.
Yeah, but it's like if you're there, you're there. No one's met anyone who's even left the place. If you're there, you're there, correct?
Nobody even has any idea that they're driving over an underground quarry where people actually live in it. Like that blows my mind to begin with, because we're so distracted in just this world that we have, but like people have no idea what's going on underneath our ground, in the water, just so many problems. Yeah.
Well, I personally know for a fact that there are underground bases, there are underground railways, and tunnels and stuff like that. Because I've actually personally seen one. So yeah. So and I've actually seen a blueprint map back in 2011 that my buddy who worked in the DoD sent me. And yeah, I can definitely vouch for that. But that's a trip, dude. Okay,
and that's why I believe the Sasquatch really like to be out here in this area, because so where I'm at is Blue Springs, but the town next to it is Grand Valley. That's the town I grew up in like my whole life. And that's a place that has a place called Monkey Mountain. And someone said if they're in a place where there's like residential, they have to have ways to escape from that area, whether they're interdimensional or not, but just they need places to go through. And someone was like, if you have water sources, you have big game, which we have all those things. If you have caves or underground systems, we have all those things. So I'm just like thinking, okay, this is honestly like a great place for them to be, even though it seems impossible. Like I really didn't think, I was like, there's no way out here. And then I found that footprint in that park, and I was like, that is crazy. Like I just never thought in a million years that I would find it there. Monkey Mountain, yes, I understood. It's very isolated out there, and it's not a place where people go to walk. It's not like at Burr Oaks, they have a nature center where you can go and interact with your kids. Like people are like, why is this lady taking her kids out to this dangerous place with these cryptids? And I was like, well, first off, we didn't even know they were out there. And then it just, the experiences started happening, and you really rationalize things when you hear a monkey in a bush and it's responding to you, and then you hear a creaking door noise that sounds like a metal door is just like grinding open. Like you don't even know how to even understand what you just heard, and then you have to process it, and then to even share that is like one thing. But it's just weird when you have all your kids standing there, and like I told somebody, a kid will go, okay, that's a cat, that's a dog, that's a bear. They know those things, and they also know sounds. And it was just so evident to my 8-year-old that why is there a monkey sound coming from the bush? And I'm like sitting there trying to process it myself, and I'm looking at my kid like, okay, you heard that too. Like that's crazy. And
how close was it? How close was the bush to you guys?
Right in front of us, literally right next to us. I actually took somebody out there just recently, just so that, because I was trying to explain to him, there's this area of bushes, and there's this weird tree that we don't even know what it is. There's over 100 species of trees out in this area. And they found like crustaceans from allegedly millions of years ago, but I think it's from the flood. But just they find there's all kinds of stuff out there. Like I said, limestone, they're huge. These limestone rocks you can like climb on top of. But where we were at, there was this huge open area, and there's this turkey that we love that we named Jerry the turkey, and the kids just love Jerry. And anytime that we have like a Sasquatch experience, we see turkey. It's like the weirdest, like right before, it's just like the weirdest thing. And I don't know how to explain it. And I've told everybody about it because Jerry is like our guy. And it was the first time the girls had saw it. I have 4 kids, and it was the first time the girls saw it. And so my oldest son who's 13, and my 10-year-old at the time, she ran with him. And they're chasing after Jerry, and they're all excited about it. Well, then we kept going down this trail, but the big opening then turns into a small path. And the trails that we were finding, people weren't really like frequenting it very often. So it was a little overgrown, but it wasn't like super bad. You could still obviously see the trail, but really if you don't know out there, then you wouldn't even know to keep going. Like it almost looks like it's a dead end, but it keeps going. And it's just a straight path where there's trees on one side, and then there's like bushes and then more trees. And we started going down that trail, and when we started going down that trail, my 2 oldest started running ahead of us, and a bee came up and scared them, and they turned around, and we had already been walking for a while. And I always tell them, however far we walk, you got to walk that whole way back. So just remember, however far we get out here, you got to go back. So they're like, we're done. We don't want to deal with this bee today. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. So I was turn around to walk back, and right before we get to that opening area, that's where the bushes were. And like I said, there was like 4 or 5 bushes right there, and they were really thick because it was like springtime, so it was really green. And I could hear it, and then I would like talk to it and say like, hey, can you make that noise again? And then it would do it again. And I was like, oh shoot. I was like, okay, this thing's like happening. And it kept doing it. And then my son was like, you need to get your phone out, you need to be recording this. And before he said that, there was this door sound, and I don't know how to explain it, but the trap door or whatever you want to call it, it was like it kept opening, and then we would hear the monkey sound. But I kept walking because I was kind of walking away from the trapdoor sound because I had heard about that before, and I was like, I don't think that's a good thing. Everyone kept saying dog man or something, and I was like, dude, I don't know what it was, but it was weird, really weird. But then the monkey sound just kept going, and then it was following us. Like I could hear it walking in the bush, like next to us, but we couldn't see anything. Yeah. And I told another person this. It was really hard for me to walk away from there. Like when I kept trying to get it to do it on like the recording and it wouldn't. Like then we like stopped, but I couldn't. I kept telling my son, I was like, there has to be some explanation for this. Like I don't even know how to even walk away from this. Like this is weird, right? Like I just couldn't fathom this. And I looked, but I couldn't see anything, like just nothing. And when we left, my son, this is a hard part to tell because a lot of people don't believe this, but when we left, I had not told my son about this. I had actually just learned about it, which I thought was weird that I had just learned about. They call it mind speak, but I had never experienced that before. And when we were leaving, my son said, Mom, he's like, I don't know what's happening, but the way he said it to me was, it's like they're putting thoughts in my head. He didn't know how to describe it. He said, it's like they're putting thoughts in my head. And I said, who's putting thoughts in your head? And he was like, whatever was back there. He's like, they just said that they're really glad that you came. And they said my name and something like they're happy that you're out here or something like that. And I was like, wait, what? And my daughter Aria goes, they know your name? And I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, I guess, I don't know. Like, that's really weird. But he just said, I don't know what they're doing or why they're doing this. And I had already knew that they could do that. I had actually just found that out. Yeah. And I had been just curious about that. And so all these things happened. So we had that experience. And
hold on hold on to that thought. Just don't go away. Hold on to that thought. Okay. So this is gonna have to have you come on for round 2. Okay. So you've heard of like cryptid programs, right? Underground based cryptid programs.
What is that? Sorry, I don't know what that is.
Okay, so basically what that is, okay. So any like privatized bases, military bases, stuff like that. I've been I'm really good friends with a couple people who work for the government, and 2 of these guys, they were actually critter hitters is what they're called. So I was gonna ask you about like missing people in around your area. So with national parks and forests and stuff like that, if there is abundance of missing people, they send critter hitters to go out there. So they shut off the park. Police do that. Park rangers do that. Military comes in and they hunt these things until they capture or kill, and then they open up the park again, right? But also too with underground bases as well. There's a lot of experimentations and stuff like that when it comes to cryptid programs with DNA, basically with the DNA splicing, stuff like that. The same things they're doing, same thing that they did in Genesis 6. It's just different now. This is different, right? You know, they're basically splicing DNA of animals with people, soldier programs, stuff like that, super soldier programs, and they release them into the wild. So I've also heard a lot of cases too where I was told by these certain guys to where after they create these abominations, basically, they want to see how they do in the public area. So they release them into national parks. That's where you hear trap doors opening, door creaks, stuff like that. But the certain type of DNA they put in them, it could be telepathy. It could be certain body traits, right, that these cryptids have. So it's very, very fishy that there is an underground base. There's cryptids all around there. There's forests you guys go hike around, and that's what I was going to bring up to missing people. Are there a lot of missing people cases in your area?
There has been, and I mean, yes, Missouri has a lot of people, like a lot of people.
Okay.
And I don't like talking about this one because I personally work with somebody who had a family member that, and it's okay that we talk about it, but he went missing, and within less than 24 hours of him going missing in a what seems like a park that you would be able to find somebody, he was found deceased. And when he was found deceased, they had to use bobcats to get through the brush just to get to where he was even at. Like they couldn't even physically, people couldn't get to him. They had to, and I've talked to her about it because she has had like peace with it, but she's spoken with people who are like mediums and stuff. And I just want her to have peace with it. But I know that I'm like, in my heart, I feel like there's so much more to it. And I feel so bad that she had to like go through that, because not only did she have to go through it, his fiance had to go through it. It was like crazy. Like, I just don't understand how a person can be alive and be calling people and telling them they're lost in a park. And it's not a very big park. It is a big park, but for the most general part, they could have, I just feel like it's just crazy that they couldn't find him that whole time. Yeah. Dogs couldn't find him. Nobody could find him. And then he is found and he is passed away, and they don't really know, how he passed away. So I didn't think that I would ever know somebody that happened to. But I do know in Missouri, it is like, even in our Kansas City area, it is very large, the amount of people that go missing. And it's just daily that people are pleading, for their loved ones to be found. It's really, it's sad. I'm glad that people post that stuff though, for awareness, so that people can be looking out for those people. But I also have read the Missing 411 books, and of course watch the documentaries. And so, to me, I just know there's way more out there than they're telling us, which is sad. And I've talked about this before. Like, they tell us like smoking's bad for us and drinking's bad for us, and like give us warnings, but no one's giving us warnings about this stuff. Like, and I feel like some people I think everyone should be aware of it, especially if you're going out in the woods. Like, people are like, how could you take your kids out there? Well, I honestly didn't think that at that park that's where, it's surrounded by people. Literally, it is surrounded by this private property, is actually surrounded by it. Like, it blows my mind. But in my mind, I'm sitting here thinking they were here long before the Native Americans were ever here. So to me, it's us being where they are, not where
we're in their home.
Yes, correct. It's not the opposite. Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Anyways, we do have a military base too. Like, the Whiteman Air Force Base is just an hour from here. So we see black helicopters flying low over the park. Like, I've gotten that on video multiple times. Just like unmarked helicopters. I mean, right above the tree line. And just recently, which is funny because my mom's husband witnessed it, we were at their house in a neighborhood, and I hear this helicopter coming, and I'm always looking up in the sky, just in general. And this helicopter comes over, and it probably brushed my mom and her husband's trees. It was that low. Like, and it was flying so fast. And I was just like, how are they even able to, like, which I know they're probably not on radar, but it's just like, that seemed extremely unsafe in a suburban neighborhood. Even I was just like, wow, like, it's crazy.
Yeah. Jeez, Pete, man. Okay. So, wow, that was deep. Good stuff. So going back to that track you found, how long do you think
I sent you that picture, right?
No, you did not.
I didn't send you that picture?
On IG? Wait, I'll go back real quick.
Possibly.
But how roughly long
so
do you think that track was?
I fudged on that one. I should have put my foot next to it, or I should have put something next to it, but you can kind of see the pieces of grass in it because it had been there for a while. But it was an average size foot. It wasn't no huge, ginormously over large foot. I just
Could be a
when
juvenile or
when
something.
my daughter was walking ahead of me, that's what I think it is. I think the one that we saw was possibly a juvenile because it wasn't like 10 feet tall or anything. It was probably like 7, like it was above me. Like I knew it was huge, but it wasn't, it wasn't like ginormous. I would say like a basketball player kind of situation, like just really, it was really tall. But the track was, like I said, it was just probably like an average sized, male foot, I guess you could say.
Okay.
But the first thing I noticed when I looked at it was, I was like, why do they have no shoes on? Like that first puzzled me. I was like, someone's running out here barefoot. Oh, like that's really weird. And then I was like, wait a second. And then he goes, well, where'd they go? And I was like, what do you mean where'd they go? And she was like, well, I don't know where their other foot is. And I was like, wait, what? And then I was like, wait, it looks like they're running because it was so deep. I was like, okay, someone had to have been running. So maybe they like step and then like their foot's way far ahead. No, wasn't that either. It was just there. And I was like, what the heck? And then I realized it's completely flat footed. And then as I look even closer, something's wrong with the toes. Like the toes look almost like a section of it's missing, but you can see where the big.
I'm looking at it right now. It's like in the mud. It looks like this almost.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you can see where the big toe is, but you can also tell that there is another toe next to it because you can see where the mud like comes up from it being squished down.
Yeah.
It like came up in between those two toes, but where the other toes are, I don't know. We did go back and take another picture of it the day we caught the winged creature thing, or one of them. And I took another picture of it because it had rained and I wanted to show how deep it was. And I was like, dude, that is so deep. Like whoever stood there and stepped on that had a significant amount of weight and I learned another thing today I watched so many documentaries and I just listened to them at work, but some guy said when you have limestone, which that's all this is out here is limestone, when you have hard ground, it is harder to make impressions in the ground because of what's like below it. And he said that when you have something like a picture like I have that has significant, like that means that thing had to have had a significant amount of weight for it to make that impression, or it was really wet when it rained. That too, but it just was like,
or it could have been jumping from one spot to another. Who knows?
That's what it appeared. Someone was like, it was almost like they did like the Superman where they like come down on one foot and then like went back up. Like it, I can't even, that one is really weird and I can't explain it. And a bunch of people made fun of me in this Missouri Sasquatch group that I unfollowed, but they were like, oh, because I have like wood structures and I have X's and I have bends. I take pictures of everything. And they're like, oh, the only thing good this lady has is her footprint. And I was like, oh, so you agree that I have a good footprint at least. Thank you. George Knapp said it was good too. So thanks so much.
That's definitely one thing in the whole cryptid community, man. I've been doing this for a long time, but there's a lot of haters out there. There's a lot, instead of us being together as a team and even the paranormal world, all that, there's a lot of people who are just trying to cut each other's throats, man. Instead of like saying, hey, I'm glad you're out there. Good find, stuff like that,
Right. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, she didn't cast it. Oh, she didn't put a marker next to it. Oh, she didn't do this. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even know I was going to find it. And I was on a walk with my kids. I said, sorry, I didn't have my casting briefcase with me. I'll grab that next time. But no, I really want to get one now though, because I feel like I could probably.
It's easy. All you need to go is to go to Home Depot and get you, or Lowe's, and get you like that stuff called like the plaster of Paris is what it's called.
Yeah.
Just
I make dentures and that's what we use.
Yeah. Just put it in like a Ziploc bag, mix it up, throw it down, let it, you're good to go. So just put it in your backpack. Yeah. But yeah, that and like the winged creature, girl, you live in a pretty cool spot. So I'm saying.
Okay, are you from Arkansas? Is that what I heard when you were doing your shout outs?
No, Tennessee. No, okay. My brother is in Arkansas. I was talking about his business. My family, they own a window cleaning business here in Tennessee and one in Arkansas.
Okay, cool. I've had a lot of spooky experiences in Arkansas, so I was like, oh wait, is he from Arkansas? But that's cool. Yeah, Arkansas is very creepy too. They're just right below us.
Yeah. Okay, so that's that. Girl, you keep going.
I know. I'm
Just,
sorry.
just keep going. Just keep going.
I don't even know where to go from there. I mean, geez
All
Louise,
right.
it's
All
been
right.
a
Well,
while. Right? Okay, so I will tell you this though, because everybody thinks I'm a fake and a phony. I don't want to say everybody, but there's been, like you said, been a lot of haters, and I don't really care. But so we found the footprint. We've had sticks thrown at us before. That was interesting. This wood structure that we found, it's been being built for as long as I can remember. And the ladies at the nature center claim that it's homeless people making it, which I've never heard people use an excuse more of like, people think like ghosts are demons all the time. And it's like the new one now, it's like everybody out in the wood are homeless people that are making wood structures. Like that's all I keep hearing. It's like, it's homeless people, or what did she say? I know she said homeless people for sure, but I was just like, you can't even sleep in it though. Like it's not even like, it's just like a structure, but it's not something that people like would sleep in, and it's really big. But we've been finding all kinds of stuff. And when we found that footprint, I was like, okay, I have to know what's beyond this little area. Wherever this footprint came from, they're around here somewhere. So my younger kids, I didn't want them to come with me, but I told my oldest son, I was like, okay, we found this footprint. I want you to come with us to the rest of the park because I don't want to go by myself. So we did that. And when we went, right before we went, it stormed really, really bad, like thunderstorm, lightning, crazy. And my coworker was like, "Oh, you should still be able to go. It should stop raining by like 5." I'm like, "Are you sure?" He's like, "Yeah, I'll be fine." So I'm like, "Okay, it'll be really muddy, but whatever." So we went, and when we went, that's when I got the other the other picture of the footprint where there's water and you can see how deep it is. And I was like, "Okay, we gotta go beyond this." Well, when we went around the corner, I don't know if I sent this to you, but it looks like a snow angel in the grass. I come upon this like huge tree in this open grass area, and I've been tracking the grass patterns that I've been seeing
I
out
see
there
it. I see it.
because it looks like a snow angel to me in the grass.
Yeah.
That's what it appeared to me when I first looked at it. But I've been seeing other different weird grass patterns out here. Like I contacted a lady from Flint Paranormal in Kansas, and she came out and went around researching with me. She's a super nice lady. She's a biologist. She said it took her a really long time to get to the interdimensional type stuff, but because of her old generation and all that, but super cool lady and was really helpful. But she saw these grass patterns that I was talking about. They almost look like a sphere, like almost like a sphere of like light or something would just like land, and then it just like comes up. It's like this perfect, all the grass is like standing up, right? But then in certain parts of it, the grass is all twisted and like intertwined with each other, and it's just like completely flat. It's, I don't want to say it's crop circles, but it'll be a lot of them, or it'll just be one of them. But she noticed those, she thought those were strange, and it was in the same area as the bird too. The lady at the nature center says it's deer, that deer roll around and make snow angels apparently. So I didn't know that. That's something new that I learned. But that's what she said that my grass impression is. But I'm open to anybody. I ask anybody because I just want to know, you know, if they can give me anything. But
if I was you, next time you go out, if you see something like that, try to find someone with a drone, or if you have a drone, go up about 100 feet, take an aerial shot. That way you can get a grand picture of it. And if you can, try to get in contact with someone from MUFON.
Okay, so that's a long story, and if you want to talk more about it at a different time, we can. But I did reach out to her, and when I gave her all my stuff,
MUFON person? Okay.
then she never contacted me again after I gave her my stuff. She acted really
disregard,
interested in it, and then she never contacted me back. And so I kind of got upset because she is like the lady in my area who I found out, like, so I had a weird, like, I call it my Men in Black experience. I don't really know what to call it. People call it a fae or whatever, but I had this experience, and that was before we found the footprint. That was before the winged creature, and it was just the weirdest experience. And I was just on this mission to understand it, and then once we did capture the winged creature and stuff, the lady at Flint Paranormal said, "Oh, you need to get a hold of this lady. She's with MUFON and she'll be able to help you." And I was like, "Oh, sweet." So I couldn't get a hold of her, and then I Googled her name, and when I Googled her name, it said first article that pops up, creepy Burr Oak Woods entity. And I was like, get out of here.
She
Get
stole your
out,
stuff.
dude. I swear, when I pulled it up, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I couldn't even read it all the way through the first time I read it. I had to stop because I was like, no. I was like, that is way too close to my experience. And then when I went to go read the end of it, then I just like threw my phone on the couch and I was like, I'm done, dude. That's crazy. And my son was with me when it happened. And then I showed him this thing. I said, look at this. I said, this guy had almost the exact same experience that we had. And he urged people, please do not go to Burr Oak Woods alone. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, finally, there's one person I know out there that's had that experience at that specific park. That's the only story that I can find. And then there has been like Mothman or bird type sightings in Independence recently, but bird sightings in Missouri that are as big as planes has been going on since like forever. The 1800s. Yeah, like bird sightings of children being picked up in schoolyards in the late 1800s. All that's been reported in Missouri. And so whatever this is, like the guy thought it was a horsefly. Another person who is a Mothman expert said he thinks it's a unidentified butterfly. They could be insects, but what I'm going to tell you right now is what happened was I saw that impression in the grass. I got at the base of it and I took a picture of it. And I tell this to everybody. I watch a lot of documentaries, and these crop circle documentaries told me that sometimes when they stand in them, they get like a good feeling or a bad feeling. Well, when I stepped on that impression, I got a really bad feeling. And I was like, ew, I shouldn't have done that. But I was already stepping on it. So I stood at the base of what I thought was like the feet. And I tried my very best to like get as good of a picture of it so people could understand what I was looking at. But if I were to have laid down, it would have been like, I'm like 5'3". It would have been like me if I had huge wings. It was what it seemed like. And so people also think because I didn't see it with my eyes that it's an insect because I didn't see it with my eyes. But what they don't know is that like I was looking at my camera for one. I wasn't looking up at the sky. I was actually trying to take a picture of that field because I was like, dude, this is beautiful. Like this is amazing. I was used to the limestone trail, and that was the first time I've been out there. So I took one picture and I take two, and my son's like, come on, hurry up! You're ruining the nature walk with your pictures. And I just take two pictures. And what I did was I took a live photo. And when I took the live photo, you see it start from over here and then it goes all the way over and it starts here. And then if you were to be in person, which I know that's hard for people who are analyzing my photos to understand where I'm standing and where the tree line is over the very far edge of where you last see its wings like flap together and like going away. It is extremely far away. So this thing was faster than like the naked eye. Yeah. And I also captured another different winged creature, which I can talk about that as soon as I'm done with this one. But it's so fast you can't see it with your naked eye. But my camera caught it with a picture because I took a live photo, that's where I was able to get so many different shots of it because it was just an accident. I didn't even realize that I had gotten it. Okay. So I didn't even know that I had gotten this photo of what I have. And then we keep going down the trail. And we have what I think was like a Sasquatch experience. We saw these turkey again, and me and my son see it was like this huge creature. I don't even know how to explain it, but it was close to the creek. It ran down the creek. The way I would describe it, in which I've looked it up too, because I was like, how do people describe Momo? Because Momo's our Missouri monster. They describe it having a pumpkin head. And how I described it was he looked like the orange guy, or not the orange, the red guy from Looney Tunes. I know what you're talking about. That's what he looked like, but he was black. Yeah. And I was like, dude, that's how people describe it with like a pumpkin head. Like it's just weird how to describe it, but it was huge. And I think we caught it off guard. I don't know, but it seemed like we were at the wrong place at the wrong time. And like, they were all out there doing their thing. And then they're like, there's people out here. And we just kept going. And I was getting every sign not to go. And then when we got home and I'm looking at my pictures, we'd already had that weird Sasquatch experience. And we get home and I'm looking at my pictures and I'm like, what's that thing in the picture? And I had the same picture, but there's this huge black dot in the middle of the picture. And I just kept zooming in. And I was like, why does that look like a bat? And then I call the lady at the nature center. I'm like, do you guys have bats out here? Because if so, you have like a really huge bat, like ginormous bat out here. And she's like, well, I mean, we have bats, but they're not big bats. And I'm like, well, this guy's pretty large.
Huge. Yeah.
He looks pretty big. So I thought that was weird. And then it like put me on this like whole, journey of like trying to just contact anyone that could help me with it. Well, then I thought, oh, that's so weird. What if I have more? Like, what if I took another one and I just don't know about it? And I shit you not, I go back on my stuff.
Yeah.
In October of the year before, that's the long, the really long wing one that I sent you.
Yes.
I had taken that several months before and had no idea it was even on my phone. And that one's even scarier than the bat looking one, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that one's like huge. That one looks like almost like a pterodactyl, almost like flapping. So I'm looking at it right now.
When you put it, when its wings are together and it's just a circle and a line going down, like that's how you know. And it's wing power. Like if it's putting its wing, like to me, it doesn't even look natural. It looks robotic. It looks machinery almost, but I don't even know how to explain it. It's so huge. And we didn't see it. We did not see it. And if someone wants to tell me that's a bug, I'm going to tell you right now, that one is definitely
get out of here. Yeah, no.
Maybe the other one that looks like a bat could be a bug. I'll be open to that. But the one with the wings is just, and it's so close to our car, so close to our vehicle, because I'm in the passenger seat, like we're driving to go see my grandma up in Trenton, Missouri. And out there, it's just nothing but wilderness. I mean, it's the Amish community. It's people are riding in buggies with horses. It's no man's land out there. There's just like nothing but forest. And there's just cornfields and there's all these clouds out there. And of course, I'm just a photographer. So I'm just naturally always taking pictures. And I was trying to enjoy it. It was it was hard to go see my grandma in the facility. And so I was just like trying to find, joy in something to make myself feel a little bit better about the situation we were about to be walking into. And I did. I just take pictures naturally, and that's what I did. And I was like, look at all those clouds and look at this cornfield. Like, this is crazy. And in that 1-2 seconds that I just decided I'm going to take a picture, my phone somehow captured this, and everyone's like, oh, that's how I know she's a fake or a phony because she says she has an iPhone 10 and she's poor. And I'm like, well, actually, because I am. I'm a single mom of 4 kids, and I don't care about that kind of stuff, like having the newest phone. I'm an old person that you have to like force me to upgrade because I just want to keep what I have.
The same way. I am so cheap, dude.
If it's not broken, why am I trying to fix it? I just don't want to deal with it.
I even hate doing the updates, man. I'm like, come on, man, I want to do a damn update again.
So I'm just like, I'm kind of kicking myself I didn't have a better phone, but it's like, but I also think anybody who actually does capture what I think is evidence, it usually always is blurry. My boss got me a coffee mug that says, sorry, I'm blurry. Sorry, I'm just naturally blurry. That's what it says. And it's got Sasquatch on it. Like, it's just, I don't know. I don't know if it was.
Yeah. Well, not only that, too, like, if you freaking take the most perfect picture nowadays, people are going to say it's freaking AI.
It's not good enough, yeah. CGI, you fake that, yeah.
Whatever, yeah. It's never going to be good enough. So not only that, too, if people who are boots on the ground, like you, like me, like, when they're caught up in the moment, people react certain ways, differently. And, you cannot take the perfect picture unless you're going to a place that has these things in captivity, and then you can take your time, take a picture. But if you're stumbling on it, dude, that's the last thing you're going to think is to take a freaking picture. You're just going to be caught up in the moment. Then if someone snaps you out of it, oh yeah, I got to get my camera out. And then it's seriously almost like hunting, when you see your deer, you're about ready to take the shot. You're nervous as hell, you're the same thing. You got to be like, calm down, like before you know it, like the moment's passed, so you try and do everything you can to take as much pictures as you can. Like, not only that, who the hell are they going to tell you? You're a freaking professional photographer. How can somebody tell you how to take a damn picture? I don't know.
That's what people were saying. People were like, oh, professional photographer. And she's got these blurry pictures. And I was like, I was on a nature walk with my son and I was just taking pictures with my phone. Because that's what I do. I take pictures. My son absolutely hates it though, because he's like, he'll send me memes of like people like, how many pictures do you need to take during a trail walk? 500, and it's like maybe.
Be 501. You keep it up.
That out of those 500, I got some pretty good weird ones.
That's
But
good
yeah,
stuff, man.
it's been a journey.
Dang. Okay, so all right. So
And I'm trying to like shorten it up too, because I know, I don't want to go and to dive into like one story, but there's a lot of them. I mean, and this is just my like this recently. I mean, I've been experiencing things like my whole life, like especially with the abandoned buildings and stuff. That's really where my first love of like strange stuff kind of for myself, like as a freelance photographer. But before, like I've always been into weird stuff. My family has history. I shared that with you, but just I think it's always been a part of me. And now that I'm like, it sounds really weird, but now that I'm becoming closer to God and I've been out in nature more, it's been different. For a while, I thought it was kind of a bad thing. I was like, why am I seeing these things? Why am I capturing them? And I like talked with my pastor's wife about it, and which I didn't know how she was going to take it. And she honestly was like, you know what's funny? She's like, I have this weird connection with birds too. And she's like, and I don't see it as anything bad. She's like, I think you were blessed with being able to have that experience and, take it as a sign that, good things are to come. And it's really interesting because I'm really going on my own, like, spiritual journey. And that's been difficult because I've had to find that path on my own. And, but I'm glad that I did it that way because it's been a really like rewarding, I guess it is now that I'm on this journey, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. I hear you. I hear you on that. That's good stuff. I definitely agree with your pastor's wife. It's definitely a blessing. And for also too, like people, there's a lot of people who don't experience things. And to me, people who do experience things, I call those like God winks, in my opinion. God's giving you an opportunity to see things from another, from another eye, I guess I should say. Some people have the gift of seeing in the spiritual realm. Some people don't. Some people have the gift of speaking in tongues. Some people don't. You know what I mean? Some people have the gift of, seeing things that other people don't see. Just is what it is. But the Holy Spirit and God, delegates on that, who gets it and who don't. And I think He does it too on who can handle it and who can't. So apparently you're the one who can handle it. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's so weird. I was thinking about that today because I was like, man, I used to always think like, why me? Like, why am I suffering so much? Why do I have to feel so much pain? And I started working with this lady, and she's like, you need to start saying, why not me? And I was like, oh, wow. And I just like totally changed my perspective. And then I was like, I think all of that was to like help me get to where I'm going to go. Because if I didn't have all that suffering, I didn't have all that pain, which is extreme. Like I have extreme abuse in my life. I have extreme loss. Just all of that, just death, a lot. So to me, it really has built me to be different than most people and open-minded to things that most people wouldn't be. And I feel like I help people.
It's a part of your testimony. Yeah, 100%. I was actually going to go to that. It's definitely part of your testimony, and you're going to be one of those people, like, after, you get through all this and, you're going to be able, God's going to bring you people that way you can help them. That way you can help them get to the other side, because it's like same thing with me. I was going through a lot of stuff, and, certain guys I went through with a Celebrate Recovery and stuff like that. I look to guys that have been in the same position I was, that have walked through it and came out the other side. So like I said, God's going to use you in a big way. He is using you. And then, once He feels you're ready, He's going to start bringing people towards you. And you know what? You're going to be discipling, girl. That's all I'm saying. So that's good stuff. That's good stuff.
Oh, thank you.
So, yeah. So hey everyone, we're getting a little church going on. So
nobody ever expects that with me. So, and then they're like, wow, I love this. They get so excited. So they're like, now I can talk to you about even more things.
Yeah, you can. What's funny though about my podcast is that it always seems to go that way. And I thank God on that, because it really gets real raw. So, and that's one things I like about
Yeah.
it. Yeah, basically almost everyone I've had on my podcast, it always seems to go that way, and that's kind of what I'm hoping for.
Yep.
Praying about it and hoping for, people just to be really comfortable, really open, and that way people can really, really tell their story, but also tell their story. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that's great.
So, but yes, but yeah, good stuff, girl. Keep up the good work. Keep fighting the good fight on that. So yeah, keep me posted on that. You need any prayers? Let me know, stuff like that. We're here for you. So,
Thank you. You too.
yeah. Let's see. So the Sasquatch experiences, UFO experiences. The unidentified crying creatures. What is that?
That's the flying creatures.
The
It was
flying
just
creatures. Okay.
misspelled.
Misspelled. Got you. Okay.
Typo.
Dang.
Yeah.
I was like,
Crying.
God. That's what it says. Crying.
That's
Like,
gonna
what
be
the
a
frick?
good one. That's why when you said it, I was like, is that what he's saying? Or is he saying flying? I don't know.
Yeah, because I literally just copied and pasted what you sent me, so I kind of tweaked some stuff,
That's so
but
funny.
that's probably something I freaking
Yeah,
tweaked
my
out too
one
much.
typo. That's not a shock at all. I have had
It's
UFO
all good.
experiences though. I will tell you that, which have been interesting because I shared a little bit with some guy.
Yeah.
I used to have and I say I had a lot of trauma, and so for a long time I didn't think that things that happened were accurate. So I went and did a little hypnotherapy with this lady,
Yeah.
and it wasn't very long, and it was really all I needed. I could probably do a lot more and probably pull out a bunch of stuff. But I feel like with my trauma that I had as a baby and a toddler, I am able to immediately black out trauma like no one would be able to believe. So I know there's a lot of things that I probably experienced in my life that I've forgotten about that I'm like, oh, wow, that's crazy. So,
well, girl, you know what? People who've been through trauma like you and I, we're good at that. Blocking out and forgetting.
And it's weird.
Artists.
Yeah, it is. It's a craft. It really is. But it's weird because there's been times where I've been in like a haunted location and the room was so traumatic that my body knew that I needed to just completely black it out. And then I go out of the building and I'm with a group of people. We were in this really bad room. It's this place called the Oddfellows, and there was different types of rooms, buildings, and each one was different. Like one is a orphanage, one was for like the old folks, one was probably just for regular people. But the particular building that we were in was the old folks. And when Zach Bagans went on there for Ghost Adventures, I didn't know it before we went, but when I watched it afterwards, I always seem to do that. I always watch the shows after I go to places because I want to have my own experience. I don't want to go, I go in fresh because I don't want to do that. I did that at the Missouri State Penitentiary and I did that at Oddfellows. And once I realized the building that we were in, I was like, well, no wonder those ghosts were so mad, or whoever was in there, because it was the old folks' home and they had a really bad experience in there. And basically, if you're trespassing, they said the ghosts don't like that. I don't like to do that. We try not to do that. My best friend who does it, he really tries to get anyone's permission. Even if it's an abandoned building, he tries his hardest to get permission because it's just respectful. And you don't know who owns it. Even though it looks abandoned, someone still probably owns that or is paying taxes on it. So don't just trust me. It's really dangerous. I know from experience. But so we're at this place and we're in this room, and my friend had this clown mask on, and there was this like toddler bed. And I just remember we're all taking pictures and my camera stopped working. And then Robert's camera wouldn't work. And I think Jeremy's was the only ones that would work. And we couldn't understand why Jeremy's camera was the only one working. And we're in this room and I just felt extremely uncomfortable. And I just could tell they were just like screaming at us. They were like, get out of our house, get out. Why are you here? You don't have permission. And I was like, we got to go. And so when we get out, I don't even remember us leaving or getting out or walking out. And then I just remember Robert and Aaron, we're going to go into the next building. And me and the other guy are standing there. And Robert looks at me. He's like, you guys coming? And I look at the guy and he looks at me and we didn't even say anything. And we just looked at him. We're like, you know what? We're good. You can go into the next building, but we're staying out of that one. And it was that bad of a feeling that like, even I thought to myself, I'm going to be the chicken and just stay out. But when I knew the guy next to me was like, grown man, bigger than me, you know, just like he was like, no, whatever was in that building, I don't even want to go into the next building. Like that's how bad it was. And it was funny because there was a couch and like all this weird graffiti in the next one. And when Aaron came out, he was like, oh my gosh. He was like, I thought you guys were following after us. And I was like, absolutely not, buddy. Not after what we just experienced in that other room. I was like, I think I'm good for the day. Because we had already been in an asylum like an hour or two before that. That was really bad. And
geez, you guys are going hardcore.
We were in the basement. Yeah, we were in the basement. Yeah. And it was funny because my friend was like, hey, I forgot my gun. I got to go back and get that. And we're like, wait, what? And I thought he was joking. And he's like, no, I'm not joking. He's like, there could be people in here, you know, scrapping metal and stuff. He's like, we got to get that. And so we're just sitting in this basement, like waiting. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Are you kidding me? I'm in this asylum in the basement and we don't have a weapon. Which in the ghost, it wouldn't have mattered. But, you know, it's just funny.
See, that's great. Okay, so.
I know it's a lot, man.
It's all good. Hey, that's how we are when we go out cryptid hunting. Man. Make sure we have our P's and Q's and our pistol, ARs, and all that good to go. So I'm the same way. I don't like walking in places that there's only abandoned building. I've done two. The only one I've done is like an abandoned church. But me and the guys went in there. I was like, hey, you guys got pistols? Like, yeah, we're good. We might run just waters in there. So just for our protection, there, you know, get a little jumpy. We can back out. But just for us, want to go in there. I'm thinking 2x4 or something. You know, you never know. But other than that, so okay, so. So you're doing that. Photography. So when you go explore those different bases. Okay, so I know your kids go with you when you guys go to the forest. Does your oldest go with you when you go to that stuff too? Or no?
Hold on, I can't hear you.
How about now? Let's see. Hear me now?
I think so. It has like an echo.
How about now?
It's a little better, but I don't know what's going on. That's so weird. It just like all of a sudden started happening.
Huh. Let me look real quick. Sorry for technical difficulty, guys.
No, it's okay.
Is it still wigging out?
Yeah, it seems that's so strange.
Let's see, audio, device. Hey, is that better?
There we go. Yeah, perfect.
All right, cool. Yeah, I just had to switch.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, it started like slowing you down and you sounded like a robot. And I was like, wait a second.
There we go.
Okay, so you said about my kids. I'm sorry, I heard a little bit.
So basically, okay. So whenever you go out, you go hiking and all that. I know your kids go with you. When you go to these abandoned places, does your oldest get a chance to go with you or no?
No. So when I started that was like a long time ago.
Gotcha.
And he was younger. It's a funny story, but I started taking pictures. And I started out with like taking pictures of my cousin, and she wanted to take some pictures of herself, and she wanted to have like graffiti and just like some like urban type pictures. And so I was like, oh, that'd be super cool. We'll go down to the West Bottoms is what it's called in Kansas City. It's this really cool place where there's a lot of graffiti art. And so we went down there, and when we were down there, I was trying to look for a building for us to take pictures in. Well, we saw these two guys standing over there and like close to this graffiti, and this guy was like, hey, we're trying to get in this building over here. And if we get in, you know, would you want to come with us? And at that time I was married. And so my husband was with us, and it was me and my husband and then my cousin. And we're like, yeah, sure. You know, if you get into the building, you know, just let us know and call us. And they were just random people that we had met, but they were photographers too. So we were just trying to get in there. Well, I was 8 months pregnant, and the only way to get in was like some big, huge, like 5-gallon buckets in this window, and everybody helped me in. I know I'm crazy, but
you're hardcore. That's sketchy.
God. And then we get in this building, and you know, I don't really know these people, and it ends up being Robert's his name, but he ends up being my life, like just he's going to be my lifelong friend forever, but he's the one that I do all my abandoned exploring with. And I was doing it by myself, and I got into some places and I took some things, or I actually purchased it from the contractor who was going to demolish the house, but I didn't know what I was doing at that time. And it was a whole thing. That's a whole other can of worms, but, he's been there for me. Like, he was the one that helped me like try to get rid of the dress and, all kinds of things, but he explores all these places, old schools, hospitals, anything like that. And his work is amazing, and he doesn't think it is. And I think he's an amazing artist, and he finds places. And that's why I personally like going to them, because one day those things are going to be tore down and people are going to forget about those. And maybe my documentation of these places, even though it's abandoned and it looks horrible, it's the last chapter of that building's life that, people will never remember. There's going to be a gas station there in 10 years, and no one's even going to remember that there was a historical school that was there from, whatever, the early 1900s. So I like doing that. I like preserving history. I like exploring it. I like seeing what people leave behind. I've been in houses. There's this one house where these people I went to high school with are like, do you explore that place? Like, I live right down the street from that place, and we always wondered what happened to that family. And I was like, well, what's really weird is when I went in, everything's in there, all their stuff, all their clothes, everything. The whole entire house is just filled. And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, we never went in the house, but we went to the trailer where the kid lived. And he was like, it was covered in cockroaches. And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, that was like after they had moved out, we like went to go see why they left. And I was like, well, that's really strange. It's out in the woods. And they had this huge barn in the back too, that was just filled with stuff too, like typewriters and just like endless junk. Wow. And when we go into the house in the living room, huge sinkhole in their living room, like huge. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, okay, did it happen when they were living there? Did it happen after? I have no idea, but their whole entire, I honestly shouldn't have done it. It was dangerous. We should not have done it, but we went around it and we got into this weird part of the house. And that's where I saw all their clothes. I mean, it was just crazy. And no one even knows that this house is out there, abandoned. It had a whole pool. The pool had like multiple trees growing out the pool. Like it'd been abandoned forever. Yeah. But my friends were like, we always wondered what happened to that place. I'm like, I think it was probably the sinkhole, but it's just crazy.
The sink or something came out of the sinkhole.
Yeah, something happened. Which I'm like, oh my God, were they in the living room when it happened? Which is crazy.
Suck,
but man, yeah, always be safe when you're exploring, because like there's stuff like that you obviously don't know about. You don't know how the structure is, especially if it's abandoned and you're going on multiple levels. Mm-hmm. One time I went out to a place called Nevada, Missouri, to explore this property where the state hospital was, where my great grandma went a long time ago. And when I was out there was this burned house, and I don't know how long it had been abandoned and it had burned, but I had went in there, and when I went in there, everything was fine. But when I went back out and I was going to leave, I actually fell through the flooring. Luckily my legs saved me from going into the basement, but at any moment, anything can happen. So just always be aware of your surroundings, because it is really scary. That's when I stopped, when I was like, okay, I can't go by myself, because if something like that does happen to me and I get stuck somewhere, like, and I don't have anybody to help call, and I there was nobody. I was so lucky. I remember just having my hands on the floor, and I was like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my God, I'm fine. And then I just like pulled myself out and ran. I was like, I'm never doing this by myself again. Yeah. And then I told my friend Robert, and he's like, you're crazy. Why did you do that? And I was like, well, this guy, it was the weirdest story, but this guy in New York who was an abandoned explorer, he loved my stuff. And I was running this page at the time for abandoned explorers, and he would always just like reach out to me and tell me about stuff. And he's like, hey, you know about this hospital in your state? Is like a huge hospital for like the insane. And I was like, no, I've never even heard of it, whatever. And so he's like, you should go check it out sometime. Like, long story short, I go out there and I end up finding out that that's actually where my great grandma went, and she had like shock therapy treatment there. Wow. And like had no idea, walked the grounds, had a headache the whole time, driving there, had a headache the whole time, and couldn't understand why I had this headache. Like, piercing headache, like hurting so bad that I couldn't even like understand it. Stopped and got food to eat because I was like, I have a headache or something. Like I have to do something to get rid of this headache. And I couldn't understand why I had this headache. I go out to the cemetery where they have the cemetery, and there's like 1,500 people who are buried in this cemetery for the state hospital that people have long forgotten about. And then I just most recently found out the Civil War guy that I've been researching at Burr Oak Woods, who was like this infamous guy. His name's Quantrell, and he's the leader of Quantrell's Raiders. And he's like huge, crazy Civil War guy. But anyways, long story short, he and all these other people went through like Nevada and stuff and like burned down that whole entire city. Like the whole city was burned to the ground. There was nothing. Settlers actually used to go by on horses and say, that's where Nevada used to be, because there was nothing. And then but like 30, 40 years after that, they built the biggest state hospital for the insane in that city. I just think that's kind of crazy. It's just like the whole city was burned down, and now it's this huge hospital that basically was like its own world. It was its own place, its own city, basically. They lived there. They had everything for the people who worked there. I mean, at one point, I think they said they had like almost 2,000 patients that were in there. Yeah. So it's crazy. I always have those little weird things. I don't really necessarily plan things ever, but if people put bugs in my ears and I'm like, oh, I'll check that out. Or like I said, and Robert, and he always makes sure, like I said, we have permission and stuff. And he finds the craziest places, and he'll call the owners and be like, can you please let us come take pictures? We're weirdos, but we'll come take pictures. Like we went to the Missouri State Penitentiary together. That was a really cool experience. We took some other people with us, but it was 8 hours of us locked inside the Missouri State Penitentiary, just us, all the people who paid, and like a warden and a couple guards. And they just take you around to all the cell blocks and tell you all the crazy stories while it was an active prison. While it wasn't active, all the ghost stories, all the experiences they've had with the dead and the living. It's really pretty. It's a very cool experience, but we do like doing stuff like that. It's just really neat.
That's cool. Okay, so that would have been a trip though at that state hospital, like your grandmother or great grandmother. Yeah. What was it?
Okay, yeah, it was my great grandma.
Okay, like if I
and it's
knew,
an even bigger like conundrum, because so you remember how I took the bat picture, right? And then I took that big huge wing creature when I was going to see my grandma. Well, that's her mom, and she actually tracked birds for the Audubon Bird Society when she was living, and documented. We have notebooks of all the birds that she tracked, so which I think is great. It's almost like it was like her. I don't want to say it was her coming through as a big, huge, ginormous, scary bird, but it was like that's when like my pastor's wife was like, "You need to take this like different, like look at it differently." And then I was like, "Wow!" It was almost like it was like a sign from God, like saying, like, "Hey, I'm so glad you're going to see my daughter." Basically, that's kind of how I try to look at it. Like, this is my little piece of like weird for you to be like, "Hey, take this sign. You know, I love birds. You love birds. Here's a weird bird that God made that nobody knows about."
Yeah. Man,
it's crazy. Awesome. So when I went out there, it's just all like weird. Like I really didn't know she loved birds so much, and she died 2 weeks after I was born, and she was in ICU. And I think my grandma and my mom went to see her like every day and showed her a picture of me. And finally, once she realized like I was here in the physical world, I think she was able to like pass on. But like I never met her. I didn't know her. My mom was really close with her. And one day in my 20s, I was just driving, and this huge like hawk comes flying over my car, and it had a snake in its talons.
Yeah.
And I just was like, whoa, like it was so crazy. And I was like, I have to call my grandma, and I don't know why. And I called my grandma. I was like, hey, I don't know why, but your mom wanted me to tell you that this bird just flew over my car with a snake in its talons. And she was like, oh my gosh. She's like, I never told you this, but she loved birds, and she was an avid bird watcher, and she tracked birds for the Audubon. And I was like, wait, what? I was like, okay, that's crazy. And like now looking back on it, it's all these like signs from God. and like, them. And in my head, I just was like, well, that was weird, and now looking back, I'm like, wow, like all these things keep like adding up, and it's just been a really cool experience. Like I said, it's brought me more spiritual to like think about things and just
definitely to definitely not take coincidences for granted.
Correct. Yeah, for sure. Because like now that my grandma's in this facility, my grandpa's been going through all of my grandma's stuff, and he found all those books. They're just spiral notebooks, and it'll say like 7:53 a.m. January 3rd, saw a chickadee, and it's all these things. And so it'll be fun to go. I want to look at them one day and just maybe she saw something weird, and because she was at that state hospital and everyone maybe already thought she was a little crazy, maybe she didn't feel like sharing that with people and maybe writing it down and hoping maybe someone would read it one day. I don't know, but I thought it would be cool to go back and see if maybe she ever saw anything that she thought was not the normal, if that makes sense, that's something I want to do in the future that I've like asked my mom about, if I could do that. So that would be pretty cool to see.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, definitely hope it works out for you on that. And that's pretty cool, man. All those God winks, all those coincidences that happen. So definitely,
right? Yeah,
definitely good stuff. So, we're coming up on at the end of the hour. So at the end of the hour and a half. So, girl, you got some awesome. I'm definitely gonna have you on for round 2 for sure. We'll definitely get that plugged in, and we'll talk about some more stuff. We'll definitely dive more into the. God, I really want to dive more into that, into that underground facility and stuff. I definitely want to do some research on that.
Yeah,
and if you can send me some stuff, definitely send me some stuff. And if you keep going out on hikes and stuff, don't go by yourself. Go with multiple people, the kids at least, or something like that. Definitely keep a good eye on them for sure.
And that's what I want everyone to know. Like when I go with my kids, we stay on the trail. Like we're not going off on the trail. With my son, who's 13, he does like to go on side quests. And when I say side quests, like we go and we play in the creek. We take our shoes off and we go run down a hill and we play in the creek and stuff like that. And so, I mean, once he gets older, it'll be a little bit different, but it would be nice to like have other people who are adults that are interested in the same thing to go out and research with, because I've been doing it by myself and it's good, but just like I feel like with my journey with God and stuff, like you can't do it alone. So I've been just like trying to reach out to just people to try to see, to form relationships and research, and I just love hearing everybody's thoughts, really.
I got you for sure. And if I come across anybody in that like Missouri area and all that, I will definitely link them up with you. And
that would be awesome. I'd love to show them around for sure. So
that's
or
awesome.
just at least guide them in the right direction to where they can find good stuff. So
oh heck yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But okay, Alex, where can people find you at? Where can people get a hold of you? Even on the whole photography biz, whatever. Where can people find you
okay,
at?
so I want everyone to know I don't take pictures for people. That's not what I do. It is my therapy for myself and for other people who I form relationships with. So if you see anybody on my page, that's usually either my kid, like my son's Jason Voorhees in the pictures. That's actually my son when he was like 8, I think. That's his favorite person, like horror wise. But it's usually people that I form relationships with over my life that we just went and had experiences with. So I don't actually like take pictures for people. I feel like it would lose
it'll feel more like
just my love for it and everything and why I do it. I just like, it is my therapy for me and for like my trauma and all that. So Instagram is the only thing I have. I'm not on anything else. I probably should be. I don't know, but I'm only on Instagram. So anyone who wants to look at my photography, which I appreciate everyone's support most recently about my photography. There's so many great photographers out there, and I'm just like, it feels great when people give me compliments about my work, because it's something that I truly am passionate about and I love doing. and just sharing with people, because one picture can mean so many emotions for so many different people. So I love sharing any of my work that I do. But I also make reels. That's like mainly my page now, is making reels of all the documentaries I watch, all the research I do, any movies that I love, funny reels, just positivity. You know, sometimes I make funny videos of like research stuff, but you have to laugh. You can't be serious all the time. So I just try to put anything out there to just make people think. Not necessarily do I think that it's right, or that I believe that everything that I'm, you know, presenting is to be true, but you know, it makes people think, or it'll make people go, huh, well, I wonder about that, you know. And that's just what I want. I just want people to be a little bit more open-minded. And yeah, just don't be negative, please. Just positivity, please, if we can.
Oh yeah, heck yeah, man.
So much negative in the world, so I really do. Like, if anyone wants to reach out to me, or has any thoughts on my stuff, or knows anybody that is interested in looking at it or analyzing it, I'm totally down with that. So I would love to hear anybody's thoughts. So
right on. Yes, Miss Alex. I will definitely put it in the show notes as well. People want to get a hold of you, or if people have abandoned buildings they can throw at you, like, hey, you know, you guys might be interested in this. Take pictures of whatnot. So, but yeah, man, I definitely appreciate you coming on. Good stuff, good stories, definitely good testimony. And my neighbor's shooting off fireworks right on.
Celebration,
I guess. Yeah, for real. But yeah, other than that, yeah, don't go anywhere. Probably, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. But yeah, we'll chat a little more. But other than that, I appreciate you guys. If you guys need to get a hold of her, I will put everything in the show notes. So positive vibes.
I just have one more message too.
Go ahead.
Know, no matter how far, this is what one of the pastors at my church said the other day. No matter how far you think that you've strayed from the Lord or the path, the light is always on. And if you don't have a father in real life, you always have one with the Lord. And just like, don't forget that, because I didn't have a father, and I'm just now realizing that I have had one this whole time, and I've just not been shown the way, and I'm finding it for myself. And I just want everyone to know that it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't matter how far you've gone at all. You can always go home, and like I said, the light is always on. That's my message.
Freaking man to that. That's it. Amen to that. I'm not saying anything else. We're gonna end it on that. That's perfect. So, all right, guys. I want to say thanks again for stopping by and listening. You guys want to go support her, or you know, throw some positive vibes, I'll put the link in the description. So, Miss Alex Shae, appreciate you coming on. Blessings to you and your testimony. Awesome. Good ending, girl.
Thank you so much.
So, all right, guys. We're out of here. Just remember, Ephesians 6:12. We're not wrestling against flesh and blood, but against principalities, authorities, and rulers of this age. So, all right, guys, keep your head up. You guys need any prayer requests or anything like that, hit me up on Instagram or at cryptidwarfare@gmail.com or Facebook. You guys got any experiences, hit me up, or you guys need any, research or eradication of cryptids, let me know. So, all right, guys, be blessed. And she is opening the garage door, and I'm out. Later.